wearing clothes around 70,000 years ago. How do we know this? Not from old clothes, because clothes do not last that long. We know this from tiny insects. Small insects called lice. Body lice only live on humans who wear clothes. And scientists found that body lice appeared around 70,000 years ago. So the story of fashion is also a story of survival. And it started with a simple animal skin on a cold, dark night long ago. Many, many years passed. Humans learned new things. They discovered farming. They built villages. And then something amazing happened. They learned how to make fabric. Real fabric. The first fabric in history was linen. Linen is a plant. It grows in the ground. And the ancient Egyptians, more than 5,000 years ago, learned how to turn this plant into cloth. Thin, white, beautiful cloth. Egypt was a hot country. The sun was strong, and the people needed light clothes. So they wore white linen. Simple white clothes that let the air move through. But here is something surprising. Not all clothes were the same. In ancient Egypt, what you wore told the world who you were. A farmer wore simple cloth. A soldier wore stronger cloth. And the pharaoh, the great king, wore the finest linen of all. White and soft like a cloud. And around his head he wore gold. On his feet he wore beautiful sandals. Fashion, even 5,000 years ago, was not just about staying warm. It was about telling the world, "This is who I am." And that idea, that simple but powerful idea, never left us. It is still with us today. Time moved forward. New great civilizations appeared. Ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Two of the most famous cultures in all of history, and they had a very different idea about fashion. They did not cut and sew their clothes in a complicated way. No. They used large, beautiful pieces of fabric, and they wrapped them around their bodies. The Greeks called their cloth a chiton. The Romans called theirs a toga. These were long pieces of fabric, usually white or off-white, wrapped carefully around the body. Simple, but elegant. Calm, but powerful. But here is something wonderful. The color of your cloth told your story. In Rome, only the emperor could wear purple. Purple cloth was extremely rare and extremely expensive. It came from a small sea creature, a tiny snail, and it took thousands of these snails to make just a small amount of purple color. So when you saw purple, you saw power. You saw authority. You saw the most important person in the world. Isn't that amazing? A color. Just a color. And it changed everything. Fashion was becoming a language, a silent language, and people were learning to read it. More centuries passed. We moved into a time called the Middle Ages. Europe was the center of the story now, and something very important happened. People learned how to cut fabric and sew it into shapes that fit the body. This was the birth of tailoring. Before this, clothes were mostly draped or wrapped, but now, a skilled person with a needle and thread could create clothes that followed the curves and lines of the human body. And this changed everything. Suddenly, fashion became more complex, more beautiful, more personal. The rich people of Europe wore long, heavy robes with fur. Their clothes were decorated with embroidery, small, beautiful patterns made with colored thread. Their sleeves were long and wide. Their colors were deep and rich, red, blue, gold. And the poor people? They wore simple brown and gray, short and plain. No decoration, no color. Once again, clothes were a mirror. They showed the world your place in society. But something new was happening too. People were beginning to enjoy fashion, to play with it, to have fun with it. Long, pointed shoes became popular. Strange, tall hats, wide sleeves that touched the ground. Fashion was becoming an art, and the story was only getting more interesting. Then came the Renaissance, a word that means rebirth, a time of art, discovery, and beauty. It began in Italy around the 14th century and slowly moved across all of Europe. And fashion in the Renaissance was extraordinary. Rich Italian merchants wore silk from China, velvet from Florence, lace from Belgium. The fabrics were heavy, beautiful, and expensive. Women wore wide skirts supported by a cage-like structure underneath, called a farthingale. Men wore short, padded jackets and tight stockings. The goal was to look strong, to look important, to look magnificent. And the colors were incredible. Deep crimson red, midnight blue, forest green, golden yellow. Paintings from this time show us how beautiful and detailed these clothes were. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael painted people in their finest clothes. And those paintings became a kind of fashion magazine for the world. People looked at those paintings and wanted to dress the same way. This was the beginning of fashion as a cultural force. Fashion was now connected to art, to identity, to the dream of a better, more beautiful life. And the journey was far from over. Centuries passed. Revolutions came and went. The Industrial Revolution in the 1800s changed fashion forever. Machines could now make fabric fast and cheap. For the first time in history, ordinary people could have nice clothes. Not just the rich, everyone. Then came the 20th century. Designers like Coco Chanel changed the way women dressed. She made simple, comfortable clothes beautiful. She said that elegance is not about being noticed, it is about being remembered. And she was right. Today, fashion is everywhere, in every city, in every country, in every corner of the world. People wear clothes that come from 100 different cultures. We mix old and new, east and west, simple and complex. And every morning, when you open your closet and choose what to wear, you are part of this long, long story. A story that started with a cold human being in a dark cave, wrapping an animal skin around their shoulders. The lesson of this story is simple and beautiful. Clothes are more than fabric.